Hi,
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thanks for joining us this evening. I know we tried quite a while to try and get this sorted out, but definitely glad that you're able to make it today.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Thanks. Um, One of the things we've got an international audience who tune in to watch, and we always like to start with the very beginning as to like where you were born and raised.
Okay, I was born and raised in, well, I was born in New Brunswick, New Jersey, raised in Plainfield, New Jersey. My mother is American and my father is Bermudian, so I'm half British. And that's that.
Okay. There's a number of people, most of Black Street and there was a Big Bob and the rest of it, they're all from New Jersey. It seems as if that state had quite a lot of talent.
Yeah, Jersey definitely had a lot of talent, a lot of talent. Queen Latifah, Lauryn Hill. I mean, it's a big roster of talent that came out of Jersey.
So growing up then, what were you, how did you get into music?
Growing up, I would say my introduction to music was through my mom, my family, through church. My mother grew up in church. She sung background for Aretha Franklin. Her and her sisters had a group. And so I grew up singing in a choir, and I was always shy about singing. So it was nothing like I was just so boisterous and confident about, but it was just something that, I secretly could do.
Were you sort of, I won't say forced, but were you made to sing in the choir, or was it something you
No, I did. I loved it. I loved it. I definitely loved it and had a passion for it. And I sung in school choirs, did plays, and all of that. I've always been very driven towards singing and entertaining.
at that young age, did you have any people that you were inspired by this that was singing in those early days?
Yeah, a lot of people. One, my mom, the people I grew up in church. Actually, Miss Middleton was my middle school chorus teacher, and she used to always say, just let it out, don't be shy, just sing. And Michael Jackson, Pat Benatar, Whitney Houston, Gladys Knight, Nina Simone, your usuals, but it was definitely something that I was surrounded by at home.
Did you ever meet Theresa Franklin?
No, I've never met her. No.
Okay, okay, but was
Yeah.
your mom still singing background with her? Well,
No, it was when she was younger. Aretha, okay. I think this is when first being discovered and singing in church and stuff like that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but then did you ever think back in those early days that, you actually want to sing professional, or was it just, like a hobby like most of us do?
It, it definitely was like a hobby. I never, and I say this a lot, I didn't sit back and was just like, oh, I want to be a singer. I want to be this big old star. It was just something that I kind of, I did enjoy, but I was very shy when it came to like performing and singing live in front of people.
Then what changed?
Met Keisha. Keisha and I went to high school together, and after high school, we became really close friends, and we were hanging out, riding around, singing in the car. And she was like, I didn't know you sing. And she always aspired to sing and get in the business and wanting to start a group. So she was like, let's start a group. So I was like, all right. So kind of motivated and pushed me to the forefront. I still was kind of like, still shy, but, I made that move. And that's how I began singing professionally.
But in high school, before that, what was your thoughts as what you do after high school?
My thoughts as what I would do after high school, honestly, was get a job, help my mom, pay bills, because I watch her struggle a lot. So, my thought towards my future in high school was just like, no matter what I do, I was going to put my all to it and be successful. Whether, no matter what it was, I couldn't, at that time, I really didn't have my mind wrapped around what that was. But, I got out of school, got a job. And like I said, Keisha and I hanging out with each other, becoming friends. I got the opportunity to be a part of this amazing legacy. So that's how it kind of happened.
Yeah, but I do wonder when, somebody just says, let's form a group, there has to be that sense of you can't, I don't know if it's possible to just do it half-heartedly or think if we're going to do it, we're going to have to do professional and really.
The passion was there and I definitely put in the work, but it's not something I saw myself doing. I believe that was the question. Like, what did I see? Was that something that I saw myself doing? And honestly, no, all I was thinking about at that time was I need to get a job because I need to be able to help provide for myself. So I really didn't award myself that space to kind of like, dream like that. But I did love singing, like I really loved singing. I still love singing. I still have a passion, but as far as was the music business my target at that time, no. Not until I met Keisha and we formed a group, and I was all in, 10 toes down. But
so you meet Keisha, you form the group. When did you really think that, well, this is actually going to really happen? Is it when you decide to get a manager, or when did you think, wow, this actually could really work?
After we met Pam from a mutual producer. She was a solo artist, and we were trying for a while to get a third member, and it just really wasn't clicking. So Keisha and I at that point had decided, it would just be her and I. The producer was just like, I know a girl that might be a perfect fit. So we met Pam, and that's how the three of us became together. Again, like I said, it got to the point that the passion was definitely there. Keisha and I are out hanging out. When we used to hang out at this skating ring in Bergenfield called The Ring. That was kind of like the spot to go to. And we met these guys. They were rappers. It was Dre and Sundu, I believe that was his name. And we started going in the studio with them, and they took us to meet Kathy Dukes, which was Puffy's godson's mother.
Okay.
And she wanted to manage us. So we agreed with her managing us. She took us to Puffy, and he was in the studio working with Jodeci. At that moment, I was like, okay.
This is good to happen.
We definitely was putting in the work. We definitely, did the work to get there, and we grind, and we made sure we were networking with people. We were on the scene where all this stuff was happening at.
The one thing that most of us who loved the 90s is that we had lots of groups. I interviewed Cassandra Lucas from Changing Faces, so they were just they were a duo. But she met Cherise when they were in college, so they sort of came together. I wonder how it was where you and Keisha are really good friends, and then you've got sort of Pam coming along, who was a little bit younger as well, and probably had a different style. The dynamics of the group in those early days, since the two of you have always been, doing things together, did you guys have to make compromise, or how was those early moments before you met your manager?
It was definitely a compromise. Pam, she, like you said, she was younger when we met her. She was still in high school. So a lot of the going out and hanging out and meeting people definitely was something that Keisha and I were out doing. But, by that time we were like, we're going to make this happen. We're a group. We were in the studio, we were recording stuff, and we were doing it for the cause. So it really, with everything you compromise. So, there's all compromises. Of course, we compromised. We all did. But I wouldn't say nothing too detrimental, nothing too out of the scope of what you would compromise for your career.
Yeah. How much of the industry did you learn from those early days? Because you're in the studio learning. Did you learn about, I'm sure you learned about recording the process, but then did you learn about writing and publishing and all those sort of things?
Yeah, we definitely learned some things about writing and publishing. By the time we got signed to Bad Boy, initially we were gonna sign to Uptown Records.
Okay.
Keisha and I had went in the studio and we recorded Juicy. That was our first lesson, because at that time we were just kind of like hanging out. Big was like, come to the studio, and we went in there. We recorded Juicy. We were humming it, and he was like, go in there and put it down. They put the record out. Our manager was really mad. She was like, don't you ever go in the studio without talking about splits and stuff like that. So, we definitely, learned a lot and made mistakes that we learned from during that time.
I mean, if you think about that though, you were in the studio. Now was Big. Was he known? Because I know that he did the remix for Mary. That's the first time I really saw him. But by the time he was doing the Juicy, was he known? Did you know who he? I mean,
yeah, I mean Biggie. Like, see, we met Biggie when Puffy was still at Uptown Records. So we were friends. Biggie was like our big brother at the time. We were all like, it was mandatory for us to hang out, come to the record label, get to know each other, bond. And in the beginning days of Bad Boy, that's what a lot of it was for us. Like, Puffy was still working at Uptown. He was still working with Jodeci. He was still working with Mary. And we hadn't solidified our deal at Uptown, and rightfully so, because he decided to leave and he took Biggie and Craig Mack and Total with him. We were like his first 3 acts.
Okay, before 112. Okay.
Yeah, before 112. Yeah.
Okay. And so when Biggie's recording his album, and were you just humming to the Juicy track?
Yeah, like, very well. Yeah, we were just like singing, and he was like, yo, go put that down. So we did. And we got a little reprimanded for it, because we forgot about the business piece. That's what it was. It was just hanging out. Everything was always a vibe. And that's when we learned a big lesson. Like, you don't go in and cut vocals or do anything like that without discussing your splits first. But we were like, oh, okay, but
I mean, was you just excited? It's like, wow, we can just go sing and stuff, and are we going to be featured on a record? Or was it?
It was normal. It was customary. We all hung out in the studio with each other. It was nothing for Biggie to call us up and be like, yeah, we lived in Jersey. He was in New York. The party scene was real heavy back then. And it was really nothing for Keisha and I to jump on a train, meet up with everybody. You hang out, you go to the studio, then you go out later. It was just something that everybody did, even with other artists. It was just very customary back then. Everybody kind of like had this bond. The support was there. The morale was there to go in and support each other. Not only your label mates, other people in the industry.
Yeah. The fact that your manager reprimanded you for that, was it a good lesson you learned early on, or did it make no difference?
Well, it was a good lesson. We learned the lesson. In the scheme of things, with the state of Total right now, I don't know that it made any difference, but it was definitely something that I've always, was like, no, let's talk business. Let's put everything on the table first. Because once something is done, it's hard to go back and, discuss business is done now. You know what I'm saying? So I know it was something that I stand by till this day.
Yeah.
In everything.
Yeah. And so is after the album, you've cut the stuff on the album, then you start to work on the Can't You See for the is it New Jersey Drive soundtrack?
Yep. Well, actually, after we did Juicy, that song, we got the offer to do the New Jersey Drive soundtrack, and then we started working on our album.
When Juicy blew up, did it? Cause it didn't say featuring, Total.
No, it didn't say featuring Total, and that was, us not handling our business. You know what I'm saying? Like, It was never supposed to be a feature record. So.
Yeah. But it was a massive track, and it was one of
It
those
really
tracks that crossed over. So it wasn't just a hip hop track like a lot of the back in those days. A lot of the sort of Redman and a lot of those were just really big hip hop in New York. But that crossed over from, I was living in Alabama at the time. Those in LA. Did you realize, wow, we're actually on one of the biggest tracks in the country? Did people believe it was you guys?
Well, yeah, I don't think people really realized it was us until now recently, the common people would know, but I don't think the masses knew that was Keisha and I on that record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was it then when you recorded your first single, that Can't You See? I mean, I think for the rest for us who are outside, hearing sort of the beat, I think that's one of the things we credit Puffy with, is that sense of using hip hop over R&B in a very smooth way. But for you guys, you're in the studio and they're playing the track. Do they already have the song written, or do you guys get involved in helping write the song?
No, we definitely were involved in helping write the songs, giving input and stuff like that. The night we recorded Juicy, it was written by Terry Robinson. Okay. I never forget, same thing. The morale, we had a lot of artists dropping in, wishing us luck. I think when we recorded Can't You See, it was the first time I ever met Snoop Dogg. He stopped by and Terry wrote the song, and she gave us our parts, and the record was a hit.
What did the family, because you talked about your mom being an inspiration, and for you it was a sense of growing up thinking, how do I support mom and the rest of the family? How did she think? What was her response seeing her girl just all of a sudden, on a massive track?
She was proud. My mom was very supportive. She would come to the video shoots, be there from start to finish. She would come to us, the parties, whether it was her side. She was very, very, very supportive. She was right there by my side the whole time, cheering me on.
I'm sure you must have been instantly recognizable in the local community after your video came out. How did you manage that transition from being obscure to being, well known by everyone around?
I mean, that part made me a little uncomfortable, because it's just you accomplish this thing, but your life is kind of still the same, financially, stuff like that. So you like you said, you're still out, and people's misconceptions, oh, just because you're on TV, you done made it, you got $1 million, you rich. No, we were still grinding, and it would just make me a little uncomfortable. So normally I would just be in and out real fast. I move real fast. I can switch by you and you won't even know it. So it was just kind of laid low.
Was it very similar to, because I think a lot of us were very shocked when we saw the New Edition documentary where they had big records, they're going on tour, then they go back to the projects. Was it anything like that for you guys, with the big hit record and touring, and then did you move up to, Manhattan or something?
No, I mean, initially the three of us had to live together. So we moved in with our manager.
Okay.
We lived in New York City and we lived in Brooklyn. So, you know, just being out in New York and stuff like that, you blend in, like you just blend in. You know, when we would go home, you know, we all came from predominantly good homes, you know, none of us really grew up in the projects and stuff like that. So it's not like we had to go back to these horrific lives, you know what I'm saying? But it still was kind of like, all right, we still wanted to level up.
Yeah. See, the album came out quickly, a single came out quickly, 95, but we had to wait another year or so for the album. Was it something that wasn't planned or prepared, or was it just that they were struggling finding the right songs?
I mean, I just think, honestly, when Can't You See came out, the song was so huge that I don't think we were like prepared for that. You know, we didn't think the song was going to do what it did. So instantly, I think after we did Can't You See, they put us on another soundtrack, Soul Food, while we were working on the album. And then, you know, after that, Puffy was like, y'all got to get in the studio, get your album done. And I think it was just, you know, timing, like you said, finding the right songs and stuff like that, that kind of set the process back. But back in the day, like artists back then, they weren't dropping like records every week. So, you know, we gave our time to be creative, made sure we had the right records. We wanted to do timeless music. So although we did have this really good buzz going on, we still wanted to make sure that we put out a quality project, and that was priority.
How were you able to get involved in any writing of that first album?
We were able, like, they would do writing sessions. A lot of our stuff really didn't make it on there, but we were awarded the opportunity to be students. You know what I'm saying? Like, to learn. It wasn't just like, here, y'all just do this record. You know, like, okay. They would definitely have like writing sessions, media sessions. You know, Keisha wrote a few lines on some songs. We had creative control of our interludes and stuff like that. You know, for us, we understood it was a process, and you showed your growth. We weren't we were raw talent, you know what I'm saying? Like, we weren't these kids who went to music school and majored in music and stuff like that. Everything with us was very raw. So, but we were definitely afforded the opportunities to step in there and do that.
I think one of the things that our audience would be aware of is that a lot of R&B acts were, in some cases, taken advantage of, because, you know, you mentioned doing Juicy and not realizing that, you know, the things that have to be put in there. Did anyone have your back in those early days to say, okay, you know, this is what needs to be done on the album, this is what's going to happen, so that there was no surprises, that you were aware of that, the fact if you're not right?
Definitely. Biggie made sure we got paid. You know, we did get paid for the record. We still do make money from the record. If not, I think now it does say feature in total. I'm not sure. But, you know, initially, you know, get it, that wasn't the plan. Biggie's first record wasn't supposed to be a feature. You understand what I'm saying? So, but we did get paid, and we do still get royalties, performance royalties for being on this record.
I was referring to your first album. So when you got to your album, were when you were doing your first total album, did your manager explain, okay, this is what happens, you know, how it gets split, so there's no surprises, you know, you could go platinum and there's no surprise as to how things work out?
Yes, we definitely understood, you know, the story of the budgets, you know, but back then, again, artists, we had big budgets, and we spent big money on videos, wardrobe, artist development. So you very seldom recoup. So we knew, you know, exactly that, you know, we want to get car service every day. That's coming out of our budget. We have to pay that. You know, like, a lot of artists back then really only seen money from touring.
because there's one thing about you guys is that you did have very individual and collective styles. You know, somebody would wear either wearing very short skirts or very tights and stuff. Was that something that you guys collectively agreed on how you'd look? Because you were the same
Yeah.
but different.
Yes, definitely. I mean, like, our bio says total three distinct individuals that can hold their own. And I mean, that's how we always presented ourselves. And that's, and they really just enhanced that. Like, they tapped into who we really were. They never really tried to change any of us and be like, oh, this is you, this is you, this is you. What you see was who we really were as far as like our personalities and stuff like that.
Yeah. And when it came to the actual sort of recording process, I think, and I've spoken to other groups, and with Total, you guys shared vocals, which was really good because it's not going to be a Diana Ross and Supremes kind of thing.
Right.
What was it like in there? Because if you got signed kind of quickly, did you guys have time to do talent shows and you were singing and the three of you were sharing, or did it just come so quick that when it came, they just used certain, okay, Keisha, you're going to be on this, Pam, you're going to be on this, Kima, you're going to be on this, or how was it in those early days for that first album?
I would say for the first, back then, like everything is about a sound, you know what I'm saying? And, rightfully so, Pam had a very distinct sound. When you hear Pam, and all of us had a very distinct sound, but it blended, when we blended, it blended well. We sound really good together, we did. And we would do performances and stuff on our own here and there, but no, it really went from like management. Puffy said he wanted to sign us. We went right into, artist development, vocal training, writing sessions, parties were like a requirement. Coming up to the record label, just being present was always a requirement. And, it was just really like dope. So it was just like things just kind of like flowed, but we were always students and being studied at the same time, to the fact that when it was time for us to do our records, they really knew what it was going to be.
Yeah. I saw a clip of you guys on Video Soul, and it was you performed Can't You See, and after your performance you get interviewed, and I wonder how it was like for you in that early days, being on Video Soul, which was our big show back then, and being asked questions, because you all looked quite shy and nervous with the sunglasses on and stuff. But what was it like, being on these shows and being interviewed and asked questions?
No, I know for me, it was, I wouldn't say I was scared, but it was just like you would get this adrenaline. It would be going, and you don't want to say the wrong things, and you want to feel like, I'm over talking Keisha, or Keisha, you're over talking me. So it was, it was very nervous. It was very nerve wracking until we found our flow. You know what I'm saying? It got to the point where a question was asked, we knew who would answer it. So, yeah.
When did you start to enjoy being a recording artist?
I enjoyed it from day one. I feel like the earlier days, like the more grind, I enjoyed the grind more. It's just like once we got signed, things just kind of got a little like crazy, but I enjoyed the whole process, the good and the bad. You know what I'm saying? I was able to experience, and still am able to experience, some things that, people only dream about. So, I focus on the good, and, it was definitely something that I'm definitely ecstatic that I was able to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, the show really must be the music is because lots of people try and sing and stuff, but not everyone has that hit record or gets the record deal and gets to do one album, two albums and stuff. Um, you know, you do your first album, you go on tour, you come out. I think you guys were, is it Tripping that was on the Soul Food album?
No, it was What About Us that was
What
on a
about us with
Mhm.
Missy?
Yeah.
Which, you know, because at that time Timbaland and Missy were doing Aaliyah, and so they had a very distinct production, and so it was good that you sort of changed a little bit from the bad boy sort of the hitmen and did something different.
All
Um,
right.
Going into your second album, how was the energy and the excitement? Because you've been veterans a little bit, known what the process like. What was that for you?
The second album, we had a lot more freedom. You know, Puffy, we went down to Virginia Beach. We stayed down Missy's for like a week. And the vibe was so dope with everything that we were in there doing. He was like, all right, you can just do the whole album. So that's
Wow.
how I did predominantly the whole second album.
Wow. Is that where
Yeah.
the Neptunes, did you meet them in Virginia Beach when they did Boy Meets
Yeah,
Girl?
Neptunes. Like I said, back then it was just customary. We all partied together. If something was going on, we supported each other. It was just like, so we had already met the Neptunes. I think we might have met them at Daddy's house or somewhere like that.
Okay.
They were already around prior to us starting on our second album.
Recording process, looking back, which did you prefer, the first album or the second album? Just the recording and so on.
The first album, because it was very nostalgic. It was the first for everything. So I definitely, the first album.
Yeah. So, the second album, as I said, comes out with big hits and stuff. And around that time that's 98. So we are turning to a point in an R&B where hip hop was becoming a lot more dominant, and it was pushing a lot of R&B to the side. So probably around 2000, 2001, as fans were eagerly expecting the third album. Nothing ever gets officially announced as to what's going on. There's no like official statements and stuff. Was it something that you guys started on and then couldn't finish, or?
Well, we total as a whole, as the original, were not together. I wasn't in the group at that time, and
you went, or?
Yeah, I wasn't. I had left.
Oh.
And and I don't think it was ever announced, because it was always hopes, I feel, with the label, that we would work things out, but time just went by and we didn't until the reunion tour.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was it like for you leaving? Because you joined, very young, and that became very much a part of what you were doing. Was there any nerves or fear leaving the comfort of the group?
No, no. I didn't have any fear, you know what I'm saying? Like, at that time, I was just more like, honestly, like, I just felt like I needed to move on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I needed to move on. I wasn't afraid to not be a part of all of that. There was other things I wanted to accomplish in my life. I got married.
Oh.
I had kids. I went to school, and it was just, only thing I wish that we could have just sat down and just talked, because we let all that time pass and it was really over nothing. But that just never happened. I just felt like I was taking the journey I was supposed to go on, you know, like, and I wasn't gonna ponder on it too much. You know what I'm saying? There will be times where, you know, and of course, you know, I tried, you know, to work whatever the issue was out with the girls and stuff like that. And Puffy wanted us to work it out, but it just wasn't happening at the moment. So I just moved on. And I've lived a good life, and it's, you know, it's been all good.
Yeah, and I guess that's the you know, I think as fans, we look from the outside and think, you know, why would why would you just not continue the success? But I guess we don't understand what it's like. You know, the industry, money, you know, people grow up and change, and I guess like any type of relationships, even if you're married, you know, kids come along, it's a very different dynamic. But I guess it could be the same, or if not harder, within the industry. Did you then think about going solo, or did you think that's it, I've turned my back on the industry, I'll do something completely different?
And I don't feel like it was so much that I turned my back. I felt like, you know, it turned its back on me. You know what I'm saying? And I was just gonna move on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't going to. It was just a lot of stuff going on that I was like, I'm not going down with this shit. I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna move on a good note. And that's just where I was at with it. And
Yeah.
I was okay with it. But as far as like, I would go in and record and stuff like that. And then I would sit up there and, like, again, like I said, try and rectify things with the girls and be like, you know, we should get back together. We should try and work this out. But they were never in a space at that time where they felt like we could work it out. And I just had to move on with my life.
No, at this time, was Keisha and Pam performing at Total, or they had all split up as well?
I know at one point, when I decided, you know, like, okay, I'm not really gonna fight for this. I'm gonna move on. They were trying to replace me with Mila from 702.
Okay.
And you know, that didn't work out. And like, that situation came about because, again, like, we were having some internal issues, and instead of them wanting to work these issues out with me, they were, you know, they went back to Puff and was like, oh, she don't want to be in a group no more, and which wasn't actually the truth. You know, I just wanted certain things to be structured, and we could have just moved on, business as usual. But I talked to Puff and I told him, you know, it's not true that I don't want to do this no more. I just need certain things to be in place in order to be able to do this in a conducive way, where it's conducive for me mentally, everything, you know what I'm saying? So he said he went back to the girls and they were just like, it can't work out. So at that time, I guess they were, okay, let's see if we can replace Kima. And I remember getting a phone call from Pam, and she's like, Kima, we keep, you know, auditioning all these girls, and Puffy like, well, that ain't Kima. She don't look like Kima. She don't sound like. And I'm like, well, Kima's right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not gonna find another Kima if that's what you want to do. I don't know how far along they got on that project without me. I just know it just never, you know, it just never happened.
Okay. So, I mean, it's fascinating, and I do wonder, because as a recording artist, when you're not recording music, like the rest of us, you can't then go to the job center. What happens to a recording artist who leaves sort of a group, and or do you then think, okay, you know, maybe I'll go solo. I still have my name and I still have the hit. So, did you have an idea of what you might do at that time back then?
I had time to kind of think about it, and you know what I did was I went back to school. I got my certification, and I honestly had no problem with like having a really good job. You know what I'm saying? Like
Wow.
I just lived my life like quietly because a lot of that noise just was not conducive for me. You know what I'm saying? So I went to school and got a job, a good
Wow.
one. And I got my certification. I'm a certified medical coder. I've been working from home for like 18 years. I mean, I really like that was one of the things that definitely like, blessed my life because I, I don't, the one thing I always knew and the person I don't let one thing define me. You know what I'm saying? Like there was really no whole bunch of money being made at that time. Like it was more headaches than anything, you know what I'm saying? And I just did not want to keep dealing with it the way things were going. And if that wasn't going to change, I had no problem stepping to the side and just moving on with my life. So, and that's what I did.
One of the things that's very unique and very commendable about the decision you make is it is hard for most of us have not lived the life that you've lived as a celebrity, being on TV, radio and stuff. And there's a lot of adrenaline being everyone knowing you, and you can go to parties and mingle with the rich and famous. And to walk away from that, athletes struggle with that, actors, a lot of people struggle with stepping away from the fame and adulation, regardless of the money. What made it easier? I don't know. Was it easier for you? What made that transition a little bit easier to be able to pull off for you?
I would say that, the support of my husband, my family, because total didn't define Kima. You know what I'm saying? Like that didn't define who I was or what I was going to wind up being in life. And that's how I always just looked at it. I had a lot of support and I was able to go back home to my tribe and live my life. And that's what I did.
And while you're just doing you're working, did people say, "Oh,
yeah, people would like notice me, and that didn't bother me neither because it's just like, again, the misconceptions. First of all, I'm not one, I'm very humble. I don't put myself on no pedestal. I don't feel like I accomplished anything that no one else can if you just had that same grind and hustle me and Keisha had at that time. So it's just all up to the individuals. Like, so yeah, like it's not like I was working at McDonald's or something like that. I had a very good job, and people will just be like, well, how can you do easily the same way you do? I got bills I gotta pay, and I like money, and there's a lot of ways to make it. And I wasn't just gonna stifle myself.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna stifle myself like that. Like to feel like this is I'm only successful, or I only can be successful if I'm a part of this. No.
Yeah. Did you, when you're working and there's a nice family life balance, did you ever miss the stage or did you
Oh yeah, of course. Like I would have dreams. Like I dreamed the reunion tour. Like I said, every now and then I would just be like, you know what? Or you would get back then, social media was starting to pop, MySpace, and people would reach out. People would still reach out and trying to get us to do things. And, the girls would be like, no. And then it got to the point where they didn't want to do it no more. And, we all just kind of went on our own little journey. But, it came, I just feel like everything happened the way it was supposed to. Because, the reunion tour, us getting back on that reunion tour and getting on that stage and not missing a beat was just everything. Was worth everything we had went through in between. The not seeing or speaking to each other, me working, you know what I'm saying? It was just worth it all.
So from the time you left to the reunion tour, there was no sort of text message, no Christmas cards, no birthday messages?
We would talk every now and then.
Okay.
It wasn't dead air, but I know we hadn't like I hadn't physically seen Keisha in like 16 years prior to the reunion tour. And Pam and I had started doing shows. We were doing shows maybe about 2 years before the reunion tour came up, which, you know, definitely we wanted Keisha to be a part of, but at the time she wasn't, you know, her kids were a little younger and she was, you know, that was her journey. Yeah. So, but we did get together for the reunion tour.
So how did that come about, you and Pam meeting up and agreeing to go and talk? Because you were working, family life. How did?
Oh yeah, Pam had always wanted a solo career, so I guess all that time she had still been pursuing her solo career, and she had got the opportunity to do a show at Wembley, but they wanted other original members. Keisha was unable to do it. She asked me, and at the time I told her, like, you know, sure. I felt like I was like, sure, because I'm not even gonna sit up here. I support, like, even now, like, I support whatever it is you want to do. I'm not gonna sit up here and be like, oh no, I'm not gonna come do a show with you because you're trying to go solo. No, I did get up on the stage. I was like, of course, Pam, if this is gonna help you accomplish some of the things you need to accomplish what you're trying to do, I'll do it. But I also, when we did that show, I also realized, like, hey, this was an opportunity to bring us back together. So I did start having those type of conversations, and one show led to another show, to the three of us actually doing a reunion tour.
Wait a minute. She said she has a show in Wembley, England, and you just, yeah, I'll do it. I mean, you're talking about getting your passport ready, leaving the family, and just flying across the country.
It was like we stayed for like a week.
Yeah, you haven't sung for a while. You just say, yeah, I'll do it.
I mean, I haven't sang professionally. I mean, I hadn't been on the stage in a while, but I always sang, you know. So, you know, I was definitely prepared. When me and her would, but that's the magical thing about the three of us. Like, we're such a vibe. Like, it's just like when we get together, it just happens. You know what I'm saying? And it was always like that.
But how was it being on the stage that first time, just the two of you? I mean, did the crowd singing along? Did you feel as if, oh man, this is good, I missed it, or what was it like?
No, I felt good. And I was a little nervous. And Pam, you know, she definitely, because again, I was the shy one in the group. I wasn't always confident with my singing and my performing. And she really kind of like motivated me. And I mean, we got a great response that night. And it was great. Like, I was like, it felt good. I kind of needed that at that moment, because at that time she asked me, my mom had passed. Oh. And I was like, just really in this like place, like where I needed something to light my fire again. So that kind of like, you know, really got me going and motivated about certain things in life again.
I think what year was that when you went to
I want to say maybe 2013, 2014, something like that. Okay. Around there.
Because so around that time, that's when some of the 90s, they were, you know, the tours were.
There's like a resurgence of 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. And so did you start seeing that they could, when you came back to the States, that there was an opportunity for, you know, for tours to be
yeah. And I mean, yeah, we didn't stop until like after the reunion tour. Like, Pam and I have been performing, and yeah, there was definitely, and it was even more opportunities after the reunion tour. So
okay, so when the reunion tour comes around, who makes the phone calls to you guys? Is it Puffy on this calling you guys individually, or does, you know, your old manager comes and says, hey guys, we'll put back the band?
Well, we start hearing things like, yo, Puff might be trying to put together a reunion tour and stuff like that. And then initially he had his what was his name? James Cruz reached out to us, and I guess just to fill out where everybody was with it, and then we start having the conversations with Puff.
Okay, and Keisha became a little bit at a place where she was like, okay, you know what, I might as well, I'm okay to come on board.
Yeah, like definitely, like she definitely was, and they really weren't going to have it any other way. It was like, we
Okay.
want girls, or we're not doing it. So everybody saw the opportunity in that, and we were able to come together and get it done.
How was it like seeing your old best friend after 16 years not seeing each other? What was it like that first time?
We cried, and then it was just like we never missed a beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing how people who are really close, when you see after a long time, it's almost as if nothing really happened and stuff. But I guess it's different because when you have families and you don't all live on the same street or anything like that.
Right.
What was the rehearsal part like? Because I've seen the tour was massive, going everywhere. Did you have lots of weeks and weeks of rehearsing, or
No, we only had a few days of rehearsal.
2 days?
Yeah, we had maybe a week. We were there
Wow.
for like maybe, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. That whole tour thing, it just, it came together, and it was just like, I used to have premonitions about that tour, like years before, and be like, so I always knew everything was gonna come full circle. So, and I'm glad it did. I was glad I was here to be a part of it.
After the tour, or even during the tour, did you ever think about coming up and creating new music as the three of you, or was that ever discussed or thought about?
I mean, we discussed it. We discussed it, and it definitely would have been, I think, the right thing to do. But, at that time, Pam decided she wanted to go solo. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And after the tour, did you continue with Total? Was the touring part, or was it just Pam left and then it was just yourself and Keisha, or what?
No, Pam left. We just disbanded altogether. It just, the brand is Kima, Keisha, and Pam. And the one thing I did learn from, and even though, Pam and I were doing the shows, and it wasn't that there wasn't no malice reason for Keisha not being a part of why Keisha wasn't doing some of them shows. The one thing I really have learned to understand is the brand, and the brand is Kima, Keisha, and Pam. And I feel like if that's not what it's going to be, then we should just let it live and let it, where it's at.
Yeah. Now you did go ahead and then come out with your own solo single. What
Yeah,
was
I did.
what was the thinking around that at that time?
Personal satisfaction, like, again, because I was not confident with my singing back then. I was not confident with myself back then. I've always stayed in the studio recording songs, and when we disbanded, I was like, I'm gonna put my music out. I wasn't putting it out to go platinum. I do not aspire to be a solo artist. I do enjoy recording and putting out music, for the sake of having my voice being heard. But I feel like at this point it's too much work. Like, I always felt like we did discuss at one time, like, Total is a brand, and we've always marketed ourselves as three distinct individual women that come together. Hey, why not we all do our own individual projects, but put it out under the brand, still show that we support each other and stuff like that. But, Pam didn't want to be a part of that. She wanted nothing to do with it, and she just went on her own.
Okay. the buzz of putting out your own single and getting the response, did you then think, okay, I can just either do shows on the back of this, or just did you think, oh,
No,
I'll just be putting out
felt,
music?
I honestly felt like it was too much work. Like, it really, like, to have to build now Kima as a brand from the bottom up, like, and I got this over here, really just wasn't like, and I don't mean that I don't believe in myself and stuff like that, but I had this whole other career, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I make good money from it, and it just didn't make sense to me. The whole streaming, you don't see them. I love the independence, but it's still like, and I really learned how much money get poured into breaking the artist with putting my own stuff out.
Oh.
Like, you got to pay for everything. People weren't just doing stuff because I was Kima from Total. They were like, oh yeah, you a legend. So can I, but at the same time, you $1,500 for us to post your stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just like, and then you kept still getting the, like, we love Total. And that resonated to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I didn't put my music out to be this solo. It was just more of a personal fulfillment thing for me.
And so that means
and I
that
still put more out.
Okay, that was going to ask you, would you?
I don't think I'm on the road to touring and stuff like that, because I do love recording and putting music out, but where that really gonna go, how far I will go with that, I'm not sure yet. Right now I'm working with my daughter. We're about to finish up her project. We're gonna put her music out. Her name is Kima Marie, Kima X Marie. You can follow her on all social media, Kima X Marie. She do have some stuff out on SoundCloud and on iTunes now, and that's more or less my focus, more doing artist development, being behind the scenes, mentoring, and help support young and upcoming artists.
So I did. I was, because I did follow her on IG, and hence when I was speaking to Mike, and I knew I saw it was Kima X Marie, but I thought it was a full word, so I couldn't remember how it was pronounced. And how is it? Because I actually thought that you lived in Atlanta, because Mike says, "Oh, I'm vocal coaching Kima's daughter, Kima X Marie." Then I see otherwise that you're saying, "Oh, we're moving to Georgia," and I'm thinking, what's going on and stuff. So are you still living in Jersey?
No, I actually live in Maryland.
Okay.
I'm in Maryland now for 22 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've lived in Maryland for a while now. We're in the process of moving to Georgia. I actually moved to Georgia August 6th.
Okay. Okay. I just assumed pretty much everyone in the record industry just decided to move to Georgia from New York and stuff. Okay, so you're out in Maryland. But then how's Mike? Is he using a phone to vocal coach?
Well, they do Zoom. They do calls. Yeah, they do Zoom calls, because we were, they started, my daughter actually did not start writing and recording until we went into lockdown for the pandemic. Like, she's always been very artistic, but I went through my thing with the industry and they didn't even know, like, who their mom was,
Are you serious?
Yeah, my daughter came to me and was just like, "Mom, I heard you was famous." And I was like, "No." And so I Googled her and showed her the group. She was like 5. And I was just like, "Well, yeah, I used to be in the group and we had hit records. Yeah, I guess your mom's famous." And she was just like, "Well, what happened?" And I was just like, just told her I got married. And, my family, my kids were more important. And she was like, looked at me and was just like, "Well, older now." So I was just, and it's funny, after her and I had that conversation, it wasn't, I don't know. It's just weird how things just start having a trickle effect, because I do reflect back and remember started hearing and talking to the girls more, and it just kind of led back to what it led to.
Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
so with Kima X Marie, what's the plan? Because as I said, because you've been through it, I'm sure you wanted to avoid all the grinding and hustling that wasn't too great. What is your plan as her mentor, manager, mom?
I'm not manager mom. I don't want to manage her.
Okay.
Like I'll oversee like business manage and stuff like that. My plan with her is just to support her agenda. I'm not trying to put her in any type of box. She's very new to it. She's very raw. So we're definitely in the early stages of developing her sound, finding out what's her sound. She writes, she's getting better with her writing. So my plan right now with her is just to stick with the artist development pieces of it. We could put songs out here and there and stuff like that, but I tell her it's master your art, because what you don't want to do is just be that artist that put a song out, it hit, and you can't follow up and stuff like that. So those are the things that I encourage her to do, to not be in such a rush to be a part of, the fluff. Because I said anybody can upload a record. You want to be an artist, so that's what's more important. Having the right team behind her, finding the right people that's going to motivate her and help her become better, so
Yeah.
that's the plan.
Well, it worked for Usher, his mom, Brandy, Beyonce, her dad. So I mean, manager mom have shown.
Like, well, we give dad the title of manager.
Oh, okay, that's got the title of manager. Okay.
Yeah, well, she would say her and I kind of like we bump heads a lot, creative. So and so like I won't even go in the studio and stuff with her, because again, like I want her to become her own. I don't want her to feel like she got to live up to some expectation I may have because of what I did, or none of that. So I'm just here for whatever she needs me for, and make sure she's doing her vocal training, eating right, keeping herself up.
Yeah.
And I kind of let dad do the rest.
Okay. One of the things that I can't go by without asking is that the BET Encore presents the Encore. It's becoming a big hit, and you were there on it. Was that was it a secret that they told you we're going to bring you on there? Were you nervous, excited? Did you know what the reaction was to sort of not confront Pam, but to see her after all this time?
Yeah, I did have a comment, because initially I said I wasn't gonna go. And just because where things left off with her, and I wasn't going to do it. And that's because I didn't want to be confrontational, but I did have some things that I needed to get off my chest with her. And because of how she left the situation, I was really unable to. And I was just like, and the one thing I do honor and respect is our bond, our friendship, our families were close. I would never go on there and like, just dog her out or nothing like that. Or, so initially I was like, no. I didn't know what her response was going to be. I didn't know how I was going to react, but, they called me again, and, I was able to talk some things out, and I just told them like, I can't just come on the show like I'm just in support of her. You know what I'm saying? Not that I'm not in support of her. I just don't support the way she went about things. You know what I'm saying? So it was all good, and it turned out good, and I'm glad I did it. Because I do love and care about Keisha and Pam first and foremost, not just as group members, but as people, as my friends, as somebody that, we went through the trenches together. You know what I'm saying? We accomplished so much together. So I don't take that part for granted, me personally.
Yeah. And I guess you know, relationships are like that. You know, when I'm not doing this, I'm a therapist, but I work with under 19s, and so
Oh, okay.
yeah, so I know that I have to deal with, you know, if I'm anxiety, depression, PTSD and stuff, and I know a lot of the young kids I work with, it's relationship issues, family, friends, and I know in life it's never easy because we, as I said, we grow apart, we grow in different, and then people have to deal with themselves before they can sort of come out and deal with the relationship stuff. But listening to you for the past hour and a half, you have this sense of understanding, and you don't seem to take, you don't see. I mean, you understand that there are issues, but you don't have an issue with the person. Understand that people seem to, they need to work things out, and when they do, they can be at a level that they can engage, and that seems to be something that, based on what I'm hearing from you, that you can understand that she left, you weren't happy about it, but it's like, okay, but I'm still there for you. You're still my sister, and still the, you know, the geeky little girl
Yeah,
that we met.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I try to, I try to, like I said, it took me like, you know, I started taking some therapy and stuff like that. And I don't want to be mad and bitter about what someone else decides to do with their life. Cause I do, like I said, you know, I hold no one accountable. I don't hold Keisha and Pam nor Total nor Puff accountable for mine. So I just didn't like how she did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it just didn't really, it just don't add up. It just don't make sense. It just, like, so for me, I was just like, why are you doing this? Like, but she has the right to do whatever she wants.
Yeah, I think when I spoke with Mike and Slim, you know, I told him that I was a therapist, and Mike talked about how he had to go through therapy and stuff, and I think a lot of us don't understand what it is like being in the limelight like yourselves, and either being dropped or taking the adulation away, and how that affects your identity in a sense. Some have the family structure and a new sense of purpose that sort of bridges that, but others find it hard to settle and still need that. Were you able to talk that through, and in order to get the right type of balance so that it did not become an issue that has affected other people?
Um, I don't want to say I always was in a space where I thought that through, where it didn't become an issue for other people. It's just that I didn't know what, like I'm a type of person where I'm like, I'm just gonna move on. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna think about it. I'm not gonna talk about it. Like, I'm just gonna move on. And I know recently a lot of things kind of like I've been able to talk about it and express myself about some of the things of how I felt back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, so no, I wasn't always in that space. I'm more kind of internalized it more.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those are, yeah. Then those, yeah. We try and teach people to externalize a lot because it's a lot of, yeah. It avoids self harm. It avoids just the constant thinking, and you're trying to distract yourself by doing sort of some risky things in order to distract, because it's still going around your mind and stuff. Would you just advise people to, because especially us of color, we kind of run away from talking and help. We always think put on a brave face, but would you advise anyone that's struggling to reach out and get help and
Oh,
talk?
definitely. No, definitely talk. Like, and and make sure you're talking to, like, because I'm not gonna say I didn't talk about some of these things, but I was talking to the wrong people about it. You know what I'm saying? And um, so find you a therapist, somebody that's non-biased, and just pour your heart out, because I know it helped me. It helped me. Like, and I definitely was one of those who grew up with a parent who told me to pray about everything, and that's what I, and not that prayer does not fix things, but sometimes it's just saying things out loud and just kind of talking about it and kind of speaking to somebody that's, like I said, non-biased to you, your whole situation in your life, and just hearing a different perspective kind of makes you sit back and be like, oh, like, okay, like it will be good, you know? So
Yeah, no, thank you for that, because October is mental health awareness, and I'm going to use part of this to really push mental health awareness, because that's what I say. I'm a mental health therapist, and unfortunately, within our Black community, even here in the UK, we're the most amount of people locked up in the mental health institutions, but with the least amount that actually come for support and see therapists. So 99% of my patients are white.
right.
And so it is something that I'm really pushing to the community, that we're not telling you to abandon church and God and talking to the pastor, but we're actually just trying to say, get an independent person just to talk and understand, and who's not going to always say, yeah, you're right, but just to be able to balance it out. So that's why it was good to have you say that, so that I can, if it could happen to Kima, who is a recording artist, it can happen to any of us. So that's really helpful. Thank you for that.
No, definitely. Like, and communication is key. Knowing how to communicate, because I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to like kind of like express myself or whatever, because like you say, you grow up in certain environments and you see certain things. And for me, communication always led to, like, I grew up with this, my dad was British, he was hot-headed, you know, like, so it was just like, to me, like, I never could really find my balance. It was either here or here. So I'm learning to be able to express myself, you know, without the emotions, or I'm learning to not react, because I was very reactive for a long time.
And you've had to spend most of your teenage and growing year in the spotlight around in industry people and as well. So you didn't have, you know,
Yeah, very guarded. I'm still very guarded. Like, yeah, very guarded.
one of the things that as I sort of wrap up, that when I interview a guest, I always used to ask that if you were stuck on an elevator and they said, look, you'll probably be in the elevator for 2 or 3 hours, but we have an opportunity for you to watch a movie while we get you out. What movie might you request?
What movie might I request? Oh my God, if I was stuck on the elevator and they told me I could watch a movie. Um, uh, it's on the tip of my tongue. I would have to say Genius, Aretha Franklin. I love that. It's fairly, I think it came out like a year or maybe two ago, and just I love the whole era of that. Like, that whole movie just gave me energy. It just made me want to sing, and made me want to, it just made me happy. Like, I was just like, yeah.
Is it the documentary where she's singing in church, or is it a film?
Well, actually, it comes on the History Channel, and I think it was like 8 episodes, and it's scripted. It's like a biopic, but it's like it's like 8 episodes.
Okay.
From childhood up until she got, and you never really saw a lot or heard a lot about her when she was singing in her child. You heard stories, but to kind of see it on screen and stuff like that, it was really good. It was really good.
Okay, now check that out. Now they're about to put the movie on, but they said we have a song that we can play for you before the movie starts. What song do you request?
Um, mm, What song would I request? What song would I request? I don't know. That's a hard question because I don't even think I would be able to think.
No, do you have a favorite song? I mean, most people put it
My
in.
favorite song right now is
Does it change?
yeah. My music log change. Mm, it would be a gospel song or something. Something that's gonna, soothe my soul, something that's sending some type of prayer message to God, be okay and get off this elevator.
Well, okay. I think the purpose of the question is more like trying to everyone find out their favorite song. So, but we give the scenario. So if I said, "What's your favorite song?" What would you say?
My favorite song of all times is Whitney Houston, I Believe the Children Are the Future.
Oh, okay. Was that did it speak to you growing up, or?
Well, yeah, definitely did speak to me growing up, and I was just always a big fan of hers, and I just really liked that record. It was, positive.
Yeah.
It did really speak to me, and that's now that you say that, that's why I've always liked that record.
Yeah. No, it's definitely an amazing record. A lot of people would say, "What are your three best total records that you guys recorded that you would say your three favorites?"
Can't You See, Trippin, and Kissin You.
Okay. The okay. Those are three different productions. So you had Raphael, then the Kissing You, was it the original or the remix, or was there a difference with it?
I like the original.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the Can't You See, there's one I saw with Keith Murray. How is that?
No One Else. I believe that was the No One Else remix.
Oh, No One Else remix. Yes, it was. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was. Yeah. I mean, it was. Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing that Puffy did was when you did the remix, it was a new song altogether.
Yeah.
You featured with Foxy Brown, LL, Mase. When you think of those three songs, Lounging, I think it's Tell Me, and then I can't remember the one with Foxy.
What is it? The one with Foxy, I think is I can't. Well, I forget the name of the rock.
Okay.
I forgot. I think is it I Can't? I think it's I Can't. I think.
Okay, I have to look it up. Which of the I liked Lounging. It was because LL was, he'd almost come back from the dead when he came out with that album with Trackmasters.
Right.
But did you have one that you? I mean, I'm sure you liked them all, but that you thought, oh, actually, this was we featured better on this track than all the others.
Yeah, definitely the Lounging, and to work with LL Cool J was very nostalgic for me because he was one of the very first concerts I ever went to. Like when he first came out, like I Can't Live Without My Radio, him Madison Square Garden with that big bump box. And so for it to come full circle like that and to get on a record with him was always like everything.
I do a daily poll on my channel, and I think we had 5,000 people vote, and it was I Need Love took 80% of the votes. That was, I mean, back in '87 or so. Did you ever did you like that track when?
Oh yeah, definitely. I liked all of them. I'm honestly a hip hop head rapper. I love rap records. So I was into the LL Cool J's, the EPMDs, all of that.
I think finally, what are your thoughts about the state of R&B and the music right now? Because I don't know if you saw the BET Awards a couple of weeks ago, where they said we want to celebrate women. I was watching it, and my wife came in, and I think I was on the computer, and she saw, I don't know who was performing, and girls were just dancing wild, and she said, "What are you watching?" And I looked up, and I just noticed that, wow, look at what's going on. As an artist, an R&B artist who came from an era where there was R&B everywhere, predominantly females were giving were respected. Seeing, I don't know if you saw the BET Awards, and seeing how women are sort of objectified, not just as artists, but in videos. What are your thoughts about how the industry has just sort of shifted in the last couple of decade or so?
Ooh, I'm definitely an advocate for individuality. I would like to see more women just kind of like be really who they are and not try to be the next one of what was already done. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just seemed like they, instead of coming together and being yourselves and coming together as a coalition of women artists, and being individuals and supporting each other, I just feel like they all just seem to be like in competition.
Yeah.
So, and kind of like doing the same thing. Like, but some of them are very great artists. I'm not taking nothing away, and they make good music, but let's get back to like more staple sounds. Like, you hear stuff and you really gotta kind of like be like, well, who is this? Like, because everything kind of sound the same.
But how do you advise Kima X Marie when she's coming out that she doesn't need to, Cardi B, Megan, I have no idea the name of the dots, all of what they all seem to have videos in a certain way in order to try and get traction. How do you try and advise Kima to say, look, focus on your sound, because that might seem like the quick, easy way, but trying to do it the way that isn't as popular, but might pay off in the long run?
Well, everything. I tell her to just stay true to yourself. Create your own lane. It's my granddaughter. Create your own lane, and just stay true to yourself. Don't compete with the masses. Say hi. Say hi, G.
Say hi.
Just true to yourself, and you don't have to do what everybody else is doing. Be the standout one in the crowd.
Yeah.
People may not get it now, but they will get it later, because the masses do jump on bandwagons, but just continue to believe in yourself.
Yeah. Well, I have to appreciate your time. I mean, I saw I saw her birthday that you posted last week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised she stayed up that late, because you had it from you had a DJ, seems like you had everyone celebrating. I'm sure she was like, okay, what's going on? It's like everyone had more fun than she did.
She came over the next day, walked in the house and was like, hey, and wasn't nobody all ready for part 2, but we was like, no, that was yesterday, dude.
How's like being a grandmom? How does it feel?
It feels good. I mean, I definitely love my family. I feel like, that's what we were put on this earth to do, is have family and love our family and procreate and stuff like that. So, I'm enjoying it. I wouldn't change it for the world. Like, yeah. I try to be as supportive as I can.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone would always say and hope that the total family. Do you ever envision? Do you hope that it might reunite again?
I mean, I'm definitely open. I stay open, and optimistic about it. If the, if the three of us could ever, come together, I'll be there. So
Yeah.
I are we having them conversations right now? No, but who knows?
Yeah. Well, I do appreciate you've given us this time. I think one of the things that, like with this show, is that we wanted to give everyone an insight into your journey and stuff. And I think it's very inspirational how you were very honest about, when the music industry stopped, I got a job, looked after family, but also, when the opportunity came back, I went back with it. And so it's part of the whole thing is your journey and your career, and we're still hopeful for things to come. If you do come up with new music, please let us know so that we can give it as push as well. And when Kima's ready, Kima X Marie is ready.
Take
is
the
it going to
X
be?
out.
Oh, take the X out. So Kima Marie. Okay.
Yeah, I know that the X came by because it was just supposed to have been like a graphic star, but I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Maybe she could change it to Kima Marie, because the X that threw me when I was like, yeah, I was thinking, okay, I couldn't have to pronounce it.
Yeah. Well, that's her handle, Kima X Marie, but it's really Kima Marie.
Kima Marie. Okay. Yeah. So when either one of you are ready to release it, hopefully you give us a shout, because we, so we can push it out there and stuff. But I definitely appreciate your time. I know it's not a, busy and stuff, and especially moving in less than 2 weeks. So thanks for taking this time and yeah, blessing our audience with your story and your journey.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.